Hello everyone, my name is Yuko Tomizuka. I'm a global real estate investment advisor with more than 30 years of experience. I have evaluated so far 20,000 of Japanese cases, real estate cases. I'd like to speak something about the Japanese business philosophy, which you may find to be very much interesting. Today's story is this. Why does misfortune come to you? This is part one. Mr. Inamori, Kyocera founder and saver of JAL Japan Airline, and he also founded the KDDI, one of the Japanese top three mega telecommunication companies. And his name is Mr. Inamori. Inamori talks about the attitude of leaders to grow and develop a country. There are 3 points. Number one, remain always humble and don't exploit your talent for your own sake. Number two, thoughts make your karma. Keep humanity attitude. Number three, follow two forces governing in the universe. Number one, growth and harmony. So follow growth and follow harmony. This time I'd like to talk about the second karma. Even a good person like Mr. Inamori had a very hard time being criticized and harassed by the media and other social bodies. I'd like to share my interpretation on the reasons why such a good guy should experience that harsh time. I think the reasons why people should have extremely hard time are as following. Number one, because the laws governing in the universe, what you release will be returned to you. Number two, the ultimate negative should be turned into something positive. Number three, to interact with nature, to realize the God's will. Number four, to learn leaving everything to the Lord, in Japanese, Akirame, which means enlightened. When Mr. Inamori was suffering as the CEO of Kyocera Group, he talked with an old master, Nishikata, of Myoshinji sect of Buddhism temple. He said, when I asked about my worries, the old master smiled gently and said, Mr. Inamori, that's proof that you're alive. That must be true. But as I was suffering so much that I could say heavy struggling, it didn't help that my suffer was the sign of my existence. To be honest, I was even upset. However, I started understanding what the old master exactly wanted to tell me. Nishikata master continued, you said you were in a disaster, live or die, but you're still alive, aren't you? Was it good to have such a disaster, wasn't it? A disaster occurs when the root cause you have created in the past has been disappearing. Shouldn't you be rather pleased if the root cause you made in the past disappears with such a disaster? You have a life and at least you are physically in a good condition. If the kind of disaster is enough to erase your past sins, it will be good because the root cause that you have accumulated in the past all get paid off. In other words, your thoughts will surely come true. If you think something negative and behaves badly, negative results come to you. If you can find your bad karma to be disaster, it's rather gratifying because it erases the karma you made in the past. Finally, I was relieved when the old master said, Mr. Inamori, you could celebrate this hard time as this is exactly the moment you can relieve your karma. I think this was the best message I had in my hard times. Considering this message, I'd like to explain why the misfortune happened to us. Number one, because the laws governing the universe, what you release will eventually return to you. I don't think people like Inamori intentionally do anything wrong with others. However, I think in many situations in the past, many people had felt defeated, resented, jealous, and envied towards Mr. Inamori. Those are the negative emotions. So Mr. Inamori had caused them, even though he never intended to cause such emotions in others. Even if you sent a lot of negative thoughts, you will you will only get some negative results as long as you have kept releasing positive energies as well. So is Mr. Inamori. He had he had been doing more positive things to do to others. Those are actions which brought gratitude, energies, and fulfillment in people who had interacted with him. It seems that those positive rebounds to Inamori were much greater than the hardship that he suffered. So the negative point he he got in his life was in total much smaller than the positive attitude, a positive point he released to the others. So number two, the ultimate negative should be turned into something positive. This is a story called Pandora box in Greek mythology. A woman named Pandora opened a box that should never be opened. From that moment, all guilt, sins, evil spirit, and misdeed popped out and spread to the world. Finally, hope remained in the box. This is that story. In Japanese, hope means little expectation. Like Mr. Inamori at the time, those people who had been struggling and suffering and got lost what to do are the ones to turn into something positive. Some top leaders, this is Mr. Inamori's word, have encountered unexpected disasters and difficulties. You may also encounter a crisis that makes it difficult for you to manage your company further. You may be surrounded, uh, despised by others, and even start thinking of committing suicide or something. Day after day, you may be surrounded by desperate mood. Then you get sick because of the hard work. Inamori said, when you are suffering, there should be some moment when all the disaster turns into positive mode. For Mr. Inamori, the moment when he met Master Nishikata was exactly the turning point when all the negative turned into positive. Other points I would like to explain in my next video. Thank you for your attention.